Alright, so it is 12:15 a.m. on a school night, and I'm going to explain to you the multiverse theory, and I don't know where this is going. It's gonna be a wild ride, but we're gonna find out. This cup is empty. Okay. First of all, we're gonna start with the fact that everything exists in the mind of God. This entire reality that we have exists because it was conceived in the mind of God. That is the base of Christian religion and philosophy and worldview, is that when God created the world, he conceived it all and it was in his mind, and we exist as byproducts of the thoughts of God. That being said, part of the infinite, omniscient knowledge of God is to know every detail about every possible version of reality that could be. I mean, like, every decision that I can make or that any other person in this world can make right now, 5 seconds from now, all the way in the past and all the way to the future. God has, like, he knows the futures that could come from each decision. Like, he knows the full span of time for each possible timeline. Like, that's part of being all-knowing, is that there's nothing that God does not know, which means that he knows every possible version of the timeline, which means that he has conceived and thought of every possible version of the timeline, which means that they have to exist because the thoughts of God are creative. And, like, by creative, I mean, like, they create, which we have already established, which means, first of all, that that's foolproof. Okay. And second, for scientific evidence that I found on the internet, number one is that atoms, okay, so everything is made out of atoms, and atoms are all made out of these small subatomic particles with names that I don't understand and know because I'm a music major. But anyway, there's like these subatomic particles, and I read this on Wikipedia, so it's legit. Okay, there's these subatomic particles, and there is a test done, and it's legit, okay, but there was a study done where they basically confirmed the fact that these subatomic particles could exist in either particle or wave form, and that they naturally exist in a wave form, but that when focused upon by a human consciousness, collapse into a particle form, which leads to the conclusion that if there is not a consciousness fixated on an object, then that object loses its tangibility and becomes a wave. Okay. Which is probably true, and how could you really disprove that? There's just really no way that you could, because these scientists even tried using cameras, and, like, because there was a human consciousness focusing on it, even if, like, it was, like, roundabout, like, through other venues, the particle still behaved as a particle instead of a wave. But they were able to map the fact that it transformed from a wave into a particle based on, like, they shot it through, like, some, like, little slats and, like, a little board, and there was, like, these patterns that were, like, either wave or particle pattern. Okay, it was legit. I promise you. You can find, like, actual links on Google to actual scientific studies. It's a thing. And so, okay, yes, where am I going with that? Is that consciousness is the one mystery we can't decipher in the human body. We can pinpoint where it's located in our brain, kind of. We can, like, figure out where personality is. And we can kind of understand how it works, like how the brain is active during different things, but no one can say why some beings are conscious, like, have consciousness, and some don't. Like, no one can say for sure, like, why humans have a consciousness, but, like, dogs don't have the level of consciousness that we do. Like, they chalk it up to evolution, but no one can really explain evolution and why we evolved that way versus others when you get down to it. Like, no one really can say that. Consciousness is the gift from God. It is the part of God that is inside of us. It sounds so mystic, I can't. It's the part of God that is inside of us, okay? And that is the gift that we were given. Dare I even say, the image of God. I don't know if I'm gonna go that far, that might be heresy. I'm so sorry, God, if that was heresy. But it is the one thing that sets us apart from all other organisms and beings, is our ability to feel and approach everything from our own perspective and have preferences and like map through things. It's just our intelligence. And anyway, this consciousness is also our ability to lock onto reality and condense everything around us into particles. I don't really know where this is going as far as the multiverse theory, except that maybe just that there's infinite possibilities, and oh yes, and it's like ultimately because our consciousness all stems from God, that God's consciousness is the ultimate thing holding reality together, even when we're not consciously thinking of it and we're not focusing on it with our consciousness. Like, God is the one that is holding everything, like literally holding together the fabric of reality with his thoughts. And if he's actively mapping out and thinking of all the possible other realities, that means that all of those other realities and like alternate dimensions are very real too. Like, they're being structured and held up just the same. And I don't really know what that looks like for heaven, because I don't necessarily think that there's like multiple heavens. And so I don't know if that means when we get to heaven we find like all of the millions of different versions of us, but I do know that like I believe that there's a universe, a whole functioning universe for like every version of reality that could have happened. And like my version of it is no less valid or no more valid than like another version where I didn't choose to make this video, you know? And so first of all, in the grand scheme of things, it makes me very insignificant and small, which is kind of freeing because there's so much less pressure. But it also does mean that there's only one version of me. Like, there's technically many versions of Grace McClung. And there's even versions of this world, like, there's even versions of reality where I don't exist because my dad never met my mom. Or, you know, the right sperm didn't get the right, you know what I mean? And so there's, like, so many different versions for so many different things. And I just don't have all of the thought planned out to tell you how it all works together in the end. But when you believe the things that we do about creation and about God holding together reality and about, like, actually, and when you believe the things that we do about the fact that creation stemmed from the single word and conception in the mind of God, and that he's omniscient, like, with the creative nature of God and the all-knowing nature of God combined, it's just impossible for there not to be multiple realities existing alongside of ours. And God is just intimately connected with all of them. And that's the beauty of God, is that he is able to do that. Like, he's able to span the dimensions, and he's the only thing constant. Which is really cool. And it's really cool to know that there's a universe in which I'm passing all my classes, and a universe in which I'm probably famous by now already. And you know what, Grace? If you're out there and you've done the things, I'm so proud of you. You did it. I don't know if this will make any sense. This is a midnight raving from an uneducated person who got their scientific facts off of Wikipedia and is kind of a mystic already. But I believe in the multiverse theory, and I believe that it ties into God, and that there's no biblical evidence, but why would there be? TBH. They wouldn't have thought of this. This is highly advanced. So there we go. my 10-minute spiel, which is mostly nonsense, on the multiverse. Oh, and also Stephen Hawking wrote his last ever article, which was published like a week before he died, about the multiverse and how possible it is. Like, it's scientifically more possible for there to be multiverse than for there to not be a multiverse. So just think about that. Yeah. Alright, I think I'm done. Okay. Bye. Thanks for watching.